In today's Legal on 4, are trusts necessary anymore? Our legal contributor Craig Wisnom is here with his thoughts, especially as they pertain to protecting a child from losing his or her inheritance. Before we start this, tell us what the definition of a trust is.
Well, it's a document you set up that says, I'm setting up, normally it's a revocable living trust. And the reason you do it is normally part of your estate plan, but they've been sold for different reasons. Sometimes it's avoid probate, probate's horrible. Sometimes it's saving estate taxes and things like that. So there's different, they serve different purposes, and that's what most people care about when they come in and ask whether they want one or not.
And so it is important if people get divorced that the inheritance of the children is protected, and a trust you think is the best way?
Well, if you set up your trust, and to make it a little complicated, your will can set up a trust after you die for your kids. But if you're leaving money for your kids and you say, you know, my children are grown, they're old enough, they can take care of the money, they're smart enough, you still might want to leave their money in trust, which means the document controls how that money is spent during their lifetime. And if you trust them, they can be in charge of it, they can make the decisions, they can use it, they can spend what they need. If they need to spend it all, they can. But the benefits of that over just giving them the money outright when you die is that it is protected. If they're married, and if something happens and they get divorced, their spouse isn't going to be able to split up their inheritance, which is what frequently happens when people inherit something and it gets all mixed up and gets put in the community pot.
Which is usually what happens when you get married. What about alimony? Can it be affected by alimony?
It's protected from alimony under current Arizona law, which is a change that went into play just a couple years ago. And the Arizona legislature passed laws in 2009 that really kind of strengthened the protection of a trust against spouses, against creditors. You can't do it with your own money. You can't just put your own money into a trust and have it protected from your creditors, and people might sue you. But when you leave money for someone else and it's not their money to begin with, you can get all these really great protections available.
And this trust doesn't necessarily have to be for family members.
No, absolutely not.
You can set up a trust for anybody that you want to leave something to.
You know, and sometimes it's a no-brainer. If you've got kids who are 10 years old, you can't have them getting that money in their hands if something were to happen to you.
Or if you have kids that are 25 and immature.
25, some people have issues, some people have special needs, some people aren't good with money. All those reasons can be the right way to set up a trust with someone else in charge of it. But even when you've got the most responsible, trustworthy people in the world, it makes good sense sometimes to protect the inheritance you leave for them in a continuing trust.
And the trust basically spells out how you want that money spent. Even after your death. Exactly.
But some people say, well, I don't want to control from the grave. Some people do want to control from the grave. You can have it either way. You can say, the trustee can pretty much do whatever they want. So if my child's their own trustee, they can decide how to spend it. Some people might want to make it more restrictive and say, you can only use it for this, or you only get that much money.
Is that a different kind of trust?
Well, it's just the details in the trust.
It's just how it's worded.
When you set it up, you can say what you want it to do.
There's a revocable and irrevocable.
Yes.
Who can pronounce that word? And the main difference between them?
Well, a revocable is what most people start with when they're setting up a trust. Irrevocable is normally what it becomes later on after they die.
All right.
So
this is a lot to comprehend. We may have to tackle this again in a later date.
I'm here.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thanks,
Craig.
Martha.
It